What's good, guys? This is Unjolly Ranchers diving into the shadows of life's untamed tales. Today, we're going to be talking about the time my best friend and I tried stealing from the fair and got caught. Now, before we get into this, I definitely wasn't the best kid growing up, and I don't recommend stealing from anyone. It's not a good look to have on yourself, and the karma just isn't worth it. And with that, let's get into it. Now, this story takes place back in 2017 when I was still just a stupid kid and a troublemaker. So, it was August and school was right around the corner. My homie D and I didn't have much cash growing up, but we had enough to grab a bite to eat and hop on a few rides, maybe play a game or two. Growing up in our small mountain town, there was never anything to do, so when we heard the fair was in town, we took advantage of the opportunity. Now, a little prologue. When D and I were kids, we'd always be in the next town over because it had a mall and a few other things going on. We grew up riding our bikes around town all night, getting into trouble until the sun came up. Now, D is my best friend and more like a brother to me to this very day. He's my ride or die, and we'd probably take a bullet for each other. Anyways, back to the story. So, D met me at the fair after my mom dropped me off and showed up on his bike. I didn't plan on staying the night that night, so I made the mistake of leaving mine at home. Anyways, we head into the fair after grabbing a few tickets. Walked around for a bit, saw what rides were there that year, and calculated how many rides we could hit with the small amount of tickets we had. We ended up going on the Ring of Fire, which is this huge roller coaster that goes back and forth and then would loop upside down in a circle. We went on the Tilt-A-Whirl, the Gravitron, and a few other rides until we ran out of tickets. Then walked around looking for a few games that had huge payouts. As we walked along, we stumbled upon this game where you'd throw a ball into a bucket that was at an angle, and if you landed 3 balls, you'd win a PS4, an Xbox, or other expensive prizes. Now, this really grabbed our attention, but we knew these games were all rigged, and seeing those consoles really made things worse. So we watched people play for a while, coming up with a strategy. We had to win. Eventually, the carny noticed how long we'd been there and asked if we'd like to go. Hesitant, we explained we were just a couple of broke kids and we were scared to waste the last of our money on that game. So the carny offered us both one free practice throw if we'd like to try. Excited, I went first, lightly tossing the ball underhand into the bucket that was sitting at an angle so it'd bounce out. I ended up missing and D went next. Bro ended up landing the throw the first try. Now, he was super hyped, yelling, "Let's go!" I dabbed him up, proud as hell. The carny asked me if I'd like one more go because I was still pretty standoffish about the game. You guys already know I took the offer. And this time, I sank the ball. D and I, looking at each other with pure confidence, read each other and we knew we had to try, even if this was the last of our cash. We both handed the man $5 and each received 3 balls. All we had to do to win was to sink all 3 balls and we'd be leaving with brand new PS4s. Still playing on PS3 at the time, we were determined to win. But something felt off to me as D threw his balls. I felt my balls and something didn't sit right with me. That definitely didn't sound dirty. Anyways, they felt different from the ones the carny let us throw for free. D missed every shot and looked at me with disappointment in his eyes. Hesitant, I started my turn, missed the first 2 shots, and then sank the last one. We were down in the dumps, feeling defeated. The carny laughed and said, "Ha, well, better luck next time." Determined, I gave him my last $5 that I had and tried again. D in the background hyping me up. But once again, I failed miserably. Pissed off, we started to walk away. I turned to D and said, "He scammed us." "What do you mean, bro?" he asked me. "I mean, he gave us different balls from when we first tried, just to build our confidence up." D's eyes widened, realizing I was right and he had the same thought but wasn't sure at the time. Pissed off, I told him, "That carny isn't getting away with this." Seeing the look in my eye, D asked what I had planned. So I told him I'm gonna call my mom and ask if I can stay the night at his house. My mom said it was cool, so I then told D the plan. So later tonight, let's come back and see if we can break into that game trailer and grab 2 PS4s. D loved the idea, but said, "Bro, you didn't bring your BMX. What are we gonna do until then if we can't ride around and wait for the fair to close?" Now, earlier in the night, I had walked around the ice rink to take a leak and saw like 3 bikes just chilling away from everyone's view, so I told him, "Don't worry about it. I'll meet you in 5 minutes at the entrance." I snuck around the ice rink and found a few bikes were still sitting there. One was an ugly trail bike with those skinny ass tires, too big for me anyways, so I kept looking. The next one was a tall pink mountain bike, definitely not my vibe, but there was still one more to look at, so I walked over to it and was blown away. It was a red mid-sized mountain bike people would take jumping on trails. Excited, finding the perfect bike for the night, I grabbed it, walked it out the side of the fair, and rode off to meet D. Now, originally, I just planned to borrow it for a bit and bring it back later that night, but I ended up falling in love with this bike and actually still have it to this day. So I rode to the front of the fair and met up with D. He gave me a look that just said, "Yeah, of course you jacked one." We had a few hours to kill, so we hit the town, jumping around and listening to music on my RGB speaker that chilled in my backpack. A few hours later, roughly around 1 a.m., we returned to the fair. The thing though, is when we were riding we came up with a better plan. Now, the fair we went to had a big ice rink that was used as a little shop during the fair. We saw a bunch of stuff we couldn't afford that we would have loved to have, so we planned on starting there if it was unlocked. Here's where the story really begins. We get to the fair, park our bikes out by the ice rink outside of view, and start walking towards the door. For some reason, their dumbasses left it unlocked, so now they had two kids with the intention to grab everything they could snooping around inside. We started with the cash register. Sadly, there wasn't a single cent inside, so we moved to the booths. The first booth had sweet hats, so Davion started grabbing shit. I don't remember exactly what he got that night, but I grabbed like 2 flat bill hats and a hoodie, then moved to the next stand. Grabbed a couple knives and fucking fidget spinners. Yeah, fidget spinners. I mean, out of everything we could have grabbed, it had to be those. Stupid, but like, we liked them back then. The next stand had a bunch of different playing cards like Pokemon and Magic, so I grabbed a few cards. Now, I'm not sure if it was because my consciousness was biting at me, or I just didn't want to get caught, so I didn't take much from each stand. Just enough to satisfy my teenage urges. I could have taken absolutely everything and left with over $5,000 worth of treasure. Anyways, we stuffed our bags and started to walk towards the carny stand who had manipulated these broke teens out of their hard-earned Skrilla. On the way, we noticed that the other carnies who had big stuffed animals 6 feet tall just laid them right under the stands. There was this 6-foot tall Rasta banana I wanted to grab, but knew I'd have to save that for last in fear of being spotted. Now keep in mind, there was a single cop on patrol that night, and we had to be careful not to be seen. Anyways, we get to the stand, and it was completely closed up with boards on hinges from the top that folded down covering the game stand. D unlocked the hatch at the bottom, and it made a loud noise, so we crouched down, looked around, and went silent. Listening carefully, D said, "Here, I'll hold this up while you look." So I stick my head in and start searching. I quickly found the boxes for the iPads and the consoles. Whispering in excitement, I said, "Yo, here they are." But as I grabbed the box, I realized it was empty, so I kept looking. I made my way to the left side of the game stand, trying to look behind the stand and see the reflection of my flashlight in a mirror. Or so I thought. Trying to understand what I was looking at, I squinted my eyes, then heard the same carny yell, "What the fuck are you doing?" D then dropped the wooden awning on me and ran towards his bike. I dug down and was quick to follow, and now that awning, when it hit my head, it hurt like hell. Anyways, I heard rumbling behind me and a door slam open. Right as I got to the ice rink, I looked behind me and saw the man running towards us in the distance. I yelled, "Go, he's chasing us!" We grabbed our bikes and rode off as quickly as we could. We ended up getting away and rode to the local rec center, adrenaline pumping through our veins faster than someone hitting 150 miles an hour on a freeway. D and I hopped off our bikes. He said, "Yo, that was fucking crazy, man. I'm sorry I dropped that on you." I wasn't upset, so I told him, "Dude, if it were you, I would have done the same exact thing. Better for only one of us to get caught. Anyways, you had a better chance of making it." We laughed about it for so long, showing each other the shit we got away with, and had a great rest of our night. Back then, I wish I had just gone for the banana instead of trying to break into that little game locker, but it was a great night, and one that we'll never forget. If there's a moral to this story, it'd have to be, don't be like dumbass D and Z. Don't steal from people. We could have gotten beat up by a crazy carny who was probably strung out on drugs, or even worse, arrested. Please don't do anything I did in this video. Stealing is wrong. But yeah, that's the story of how D and I stole from a fair and probably almost got beat up by a crazy carny trying to get free PS4s. I hope you all enjoyed the story. It's definitely a crazy one. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more crazy life stories. Stay tuned for more on Jolly Tales. Until next time.